Let's touch on something a little less controversial, the John Doe investigation. The ties between outside groups and Governor Walker's campaign. Would you have assisted John Chisholm and the other prosecutors in that? And do you think the law needs some changing? Does the process need to change somehow?
Yeah, I would have assisted in that, and here's why. I think when we talk about elected officials, we have to not only have the appearance of not being biased, but the ability to actually act in an unbiased fashion. So, as district attorney and as attorney general, certainly anyone who betrays the public trust should be prosecuted, should be investigated, and that is whether they're Democrat or whether they're Republican. And I think the unfortunate part of what we've seen with these John Does now has been a lack of trust by the public. We've got to work to restore trust in our elected officials. The problem, of course, now that we have the pitting of the various political parties in the interjections, you have the current Attorney General saying, I wouldn't have assisted because, look, this is the governor and he's a Republican. Well, John Chisholm's a Democrat as well. Now, would my involvement in that have anything to do with the fact that John Chisholm's a Democrat, that the governor's a Republican? No. But again, we're talking about perception. We're talking about people having faith and confidence, in the investigation and the integrity of our system. And so to that extent, that might be somewhere where you have to be cognizant of that in terms of how you go forward on something of that magnitude. Because I think, the real issue has been just how complicated this case has been, even though the jurisdiction, was properly in Milwaukee County.
Would you change the process at all? Other states do it a little differently, as I understand it.
Well, and certainly I suppose I could, look at these particular investigations, the problems that have been posed by them when you're talking about your governor, right? Whether they're Republican or Democrat, you're going to have the nuances of politics in the background. And that might be something where, you talk to the legislature about how we can improve the process in those types of circumstances. In general, our John Doe statutes are good. They allow, citizens to make complaints, to have investigations and to have oversight. But I think this case has sort of been unusual. I think we can all agree on that, both in terms of its inception, how it's evolved, and then of course all of the players that have been involved.